Have you ever noticed that the people who talk about money the most usually have the least of it? And the people who have the most almost never bring it up? That is not a coincidence. That is one of the most revealing patterns in all of money psychology. And once you understand why, you will never think about money conversations the same way again. Think about the people in your life who talk about money constantly. Who is getting paid what? Who bought what? How much things cost? How little they have? How much they wish they had? Who is showing off? Who is struggling? Money is always the topic. Always the measure. Always the thing being compared and discussed and obsessed over. Now think about the wealthiest person you know personally. Or the wealthiest people you have ever read about or observed. Do they talk about money constantly? Do they compare salaries? Do they tell everyone what they paid for things? Do they discuss their net worth at dinner? Almost never. And that silence is not modesty. It is not privacy. It is something much more powerful than both. Researchers who study wealthy behavior consistently find that the relationship with money shifts dramatically as genuine wealth is built. Money stops being the focus. It becomes a tool. A background resource, something that is managed quietly and purposefully rather than discussed loudly and emotionally. And understanding that shift is one of the most important steps in building your own financial future. Broke people talk about money because money controls them. When you do not have enough money, it occupies your mind constantly. It is the first thing you think about in the morning, the last thing you worry about at night. It shows up in every decision, every conversation, every plan. And when something controls your mind that completely, you talk about it, obsessively, because talking about it feels like doing something about it, even when it is not. Complaining about prices, discussing other people's salaries, fantasizing about windfalls, comparing what you have to what others have. All of it is mental energy spent on money without actually moving your financial situation forward by a single dollar. It is the illusion of engagement without the substance of action. Now here is why wealthy people stay silent. And it is not what most people think. Rich people do not talk about money because money no longer controls them. When you have built genuine financial security, money stops being an emotional topic. It becomes practical, mechanical, something you manage like any other system in your life. You do not obsess over it. You do not compare it. You do not need to discuss it constantly because it is no longer a source of anxiety or identity. But there is another reason wealthy people stay quiet about money. And this one is strategic. Talking about money creates targets. It attracts requests. It invites opinions. It generates resentment. And it reveals information that sophisticated financial minds know to keep private. The wealthy understand that money is power. And broadcasting your power is rarely in your best interest. There is also something deeper happening. Wealthy people have internalized their financial identity so completely that they do not need external validation of it. They do not need to discuss their salary to feel successful. They do not need to compare their net worth to feel secure. The security is internal, not dependent on anyone else's reaction. The shift from talking to doing is where everything changes. Here is the most actionable insight in this entire video. Every minute you spend talking about money, complaining about it, comparing it, fantasizing about it, is a minute not spent doing something about it. The wealthy are not quieter about money because they are more private by nature. They are quieter because they replaced the talking with doing, with reading, with learning, with building, with managing. The conversation about money happens internally for them, in spreadsheets, in investment accounts, in quiet, deliberate decisions made without an audience. So the next time you catch yourself in a money conversation that goes nowhere, ask yourself one question. Is this conversation moving my financial situation forward? Or is it just noise? Because noise feels like progress, but it never is. Here is what I want you to take from this video. The goal is not to become secretive or cold about money. The goal is to shift your relationship with it, from emotional to intentional, from reactive to strategic, from talking about it to actually doing something about it. Because the quietest people in the room are often the ones building the most. And the loudest ones are often the ones standing still. Which one do you want to be? Drop in the comments. Do you know someone who talks about money constantly but never seems to get ahead? You do not have to name them. Just say yes. And if this video made you think, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Hit subscribe because every week we go deeper into the psychology and the truth behind money. I will see you there.